Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. In our last discourse, when we introduce ourselves, we mentioned that there is void in our life. Many people have talked to me and even complained about boredom in life. Life seems to be scattered. There is emptiness. Sometimes even they feel helplessness. Amazing as it is, even young people who are just out of college and have worked maybe for a year or two with a very satisfactory job, good education, of course, and yet within a year or two they feel bored for the job that they are performing. We would expect that life should not be so quickly and in our young age cause us frustrations or even depressions or helplessness. There is no real need to feel void, but void we do feel more often than we would like to. These are the realities we have to face, and primarily it is due to our ignorance, not knowing how to make use of the equipment that God has given us. So primarily all our sufferings, our unhappiness, our feeling of void is due to ignorance. Our lives seem to be scattered. Whoever we may be, in our life we feel there are too many things to do, which we create ourselves, too many events to attend, too many tasks to be fulfilled, too many people to deal with, too many demands on us as we demand on others, and too many needs also. This would necessarily then create anxieties, uncertainties, fear to face the future, often guilt of the past life, and it also creates doubts as to whether we are right or what is life all about. This itself tells us that the void is due to all these things we have created that we cannot cope with. Often we also mix with all these unrealities. We do not like to take our responsibilities seriously. There is no unity of thought. There is no goal in life or proper directions. And there is no meaning or purpose to our very life or existence. If this is true, and we do feel through experience, not only of my own experience, but the experience of my colleagues and those who listen to me, my friends, my associates, and the people with whom I meet, we certainly don't have to be the victims of this ignorance, what the scriptures call Maya. Unfortunately, we are very gullible like children. We like to blame others while we are actually to be blamed for not taking our own responsibilities. And worst of all, it is like is a proverb in the United States that there is no free lunch or a free ride. We like to believe, or we make ourselves believe in magics, in miracles, in superstitions. All this, what my professor Einstein used to call hocus pocus. This would appear as if we want something for nothing. Superstitions, miracles, and magics would indicate that there is no logic in life or no laws that govern our life, that it is all by chance, and that we hope something will fall from sky. And yet it is not so. Yet it is not so. For we are governed by eternal laws, whether we like it or not, whether we accept it or not, whether we choose it or not, whether we argue about it, we are governed by the laws that our Creator has made. It's like we cannot live without drinking water. We cannot live without energy from the sun. We cannot live without breathing. These are the laws. And there are also certain subtle laws that we don't see as obvious as what I just mentioned. But they are the internal laws, and we have to learn about the laws since we have to follow for our own good. Of course, it's not imposed on us to make us a prisoner, but rather to make us a free man. Freedom is our goal. The void that we feel is indirectly an indication that we are not free. And whenever we are not free, we feel void, like a prisoner would feel void in a prison because he doesn't have a choice to live the way he wants to live his life. We don't often think about it, but we have made ourselves prisoner of our own desires, though physically we may be wandering freely in space or on earth. It is not the freedom of just physical movement, but it is the freedom of mind, freedom of intellect, and above all, freedom of soul. So this void that we are talking about again comes immediately to our family life. Our family life is very important. It is the basis for most of us to advance, to learn, to make it a school. And we find, unfortunately, not knowing the laws again of the family life, we find no peace, we find no rest, no real satisfaction, no real joy, or no real love. If we have to be honest about our life, we will certainly admit to some degree that these are the facts that we have created in our life only because, not that we love to create problems, but that problems do come because of our ignorance and not knowing how to deal with the situation, like not knowing the laws of transportation and not knowing the laws of highways, and we start to drive, we would expect and almost invariably run into the problems because of not knowing the rules. So, not only we talk about the family life, which personally affects us individually, to us and our wife and our children and our immediate relatives, but when we look around the society in which we live, since we cannot isolate ourselves from the people around and the laws that are made by man-made laws do not release us also from some obligations, we see that in our major concerns, and as Mahatma Gandhi had pointed out about some of the principles, if we look at politics, which we are all affected whether we like it or not, politics today lacks principles. And I'm talking about not the politics of one particular country, but I'm always talking about global situation, where it applies to every country, every people, and also it applied in the past, it applies today, and if we are not vigilant and if we don't learn, it's also going to apply in future. So it is our real concern that politics lacks principles. We also notice that we spend so much time in our education and particularly science, but in our evolution of science, there lacks humanity. We don't think of the benefits that the human beings will get when we think of science. Our commerce lacks morality. There is no moral principles, and we would want to make money at any cost, no matter how much we hurt others, and unfortunately in the end we get ourselves hurt when we find that it was not really what we were looking for, or it did not bring us joy. So we are not only hurting ourselves, we are hurting our fellow men, and of course then we displease our Maker also for breaking the laws. Our another major concern is religion, and religion also lacks sacrifices that we all need to make. Most of us are being taught that we can have religion or God without any real sacrifices. And again, that is against the law, and so in religion also we have not only confusion, but we don't get the benefits that we ought to get. When we talk about wealth, unlimited wealth, we want wealth not only enough but unlimited, and we really don't want to work for it. If we can get it somehow by crooked means, or like in stock markets or some other means of deceiving people, fine lines, our idea is always to make money at any cost. So wealth lacks sincerity of effort and work and freedom from deception. Then there is unlimited pleasures. Our pleasures lacks consciousness. We just want pleasure at any cost, even if our conscience is against it. Momentary pleasures will make us carry away, and then we realize it later on that the pleasures that we thought were pleasures were nothing but pain. When we look at education, it also lacks character. It is amazing that nowadays in the universities we find problems of drinking and drugs, while the universities and the young life was supposed to be dedicated and focused to the learning that will help us in the remaining of our life. So we don't even focus on the purpose of education. The first purpose should have been to develop character in man, morality in man, what is the purpose of life. So our education has also become business-like, sort of. Family life, as we already said, lacks discipline. Everybody wants from everybody else something, but they don't want to pay. They don't want to discipline themselves. We point out everybody else in the family to behave in a certain way, but we ourselves don't want to behave that way. That shows that we lack discipline. There are laws that we will learn that should be not only applicable to every one of us, but there is justice, and above all, there is a pleasure. There will be a joy when there is a disciplined life. Like if we drive on a highway with discipline, we will have safe driving, we will arrive safely at our goal, we will be enjoying the journey itself. But if we do not have any discipline, we expect any time not only problems or accidents, but even during the journey there is uncertainty, fear, anxiety, not knowing the principles. The service we do also lacks dedication. So, and we have to serve ourselves, serve our family, serve the society, We have to be part of this world in which we live, but very few of us want to dedicate our life. We mean what we say, we perform what we say on time, efficiently, satisfactorily. All this thing is lacking in our services. We just want to fulfill our time, 8 to 5, we have been there. We just do for the sake of doing, but our heart may be somewhere else. So the service we provide or do, whether it is cooking, cleaning, job, driving, or whatever it may be, requires dedication. The unlimited power that we seek lacks wisdom. And if we have power but we don't know how to wisely use it, the chances are it will hurt us and it will destroy us rather than improve our life. And we today know that whether we are politicians, whether it is defense, or whether it is economic power, whether it is a name and fame, and all this is always unlimited, but we do not really have the wisdom if this power is going to be beneficial to us or whether it's going to hurt us. And last, I would like to point out is spirituality, which lacks divine love. And it is the divine love that is the ultimate objective of us. One of our saints, Mirabai, in her personal life has shown us what divine love is, and we will be using or referring to her teachings, her life, her love life with her Lord. But the spirituality also, unfortunately, has turned or can turn into business because there is no real love for our fellow men. Our angle, our objective has to be properly examined, and if we do not have the right goal or right objective, then no matter how, whatever we may talk, we may not achieve our goal. Now, when we talked about pleasures without conscience, there are two things that is ruling our life. All of us are after pleasures. Even when you go to school, we want a good degree, so we'll make more money, and so more money will hopefully provide us more pleasure. More name and fame is also an indirect mental pleasure. So these pleasures that we are all running about or running after is actually a red signal that we were never been told. Pleasures can turn into pain very soon, and our life then becomes void, as we have just mentioned, and we do not want to feel void in our life. There is one slok I would really like to mention about the pleasures, and one of our saints of the 13th century, Bhartruhari, had said, and I will be referring to this original Sanskrit wisdom put in Sanskrit language. It is very important that we do not deny or overlook the wisdom of the ages. And what he says here is, Bhoge roga bhayam kule chuti bhayam vitte nupalad bhayam mane dainyam bhayam bale ripu bhayam rupe jaraya bhayam shastre vadi bhayam gune khala bhayam kaye krutantam bhayam sarvavastum bhayanvitam bhuvi nunam vairagyam eva abhayam. What it says is that most of us like or would and should like fearlessness. For fear is not our nature. Fearlessness comes only when we follow the eternal laws. And what Bhartruhari says, that in enjoyments or the pleasures, there is a fear of disease. Excessive pleasures have brought us AIDS and other disease that we know. Whether it is drinking, then we create problems and disease for our heart, our lungs, our kidney, our liver. Smoking, drinking, drugs, overeating, not eating right. So we already know that in this kind of enjoyments that we are after, there is always a fear that it will result in disease. In social position that we are seeking always to be superior to others, there is always a fear of fall, that somebody else will come who will be superior and displace us. And so there is that anxiety, and therefore there is a fear of fall. In the enjoyment, in the wealth, there is a fear that maybe stock market will go down, or whether some thieves might steal, or in old days the hostile kings would take away. So there is always a fear in not being able to hold on to the wealth that we have. In honor, there is a fear of humiliation. If we are looking for honor, somebody might always humiliate us because we do not like anybody equal to us, and there will be always equal or even better, and that will humiliate us. In power, there is a fear of foes. We think we have a lot of power, but there is always somebody who can be more powerful than we are, and thus we will have frustration later on. There is always that fear. In beauty, there is a fear of old age. After all, beauty does not last too long. We know our body is constantly changing, and if we are going after superfluous beauty, then we will feel that the beauty will vanish and we will feel frustrated. So, in beauty also there is a fear of old age. In scriptural erudition, if we think too much of our knowledge, that we are very advanced and spiritually smarter than others, then there is always a fear that some opponent will come who is more intelligent, that will make us feel ashamed of ourselves. And so there is always that fear. In virtue, there is a fear of seducers. When we think too much of our virtues, we may be seduced through that very virtue by pride, and we will suffer that. And in the body, there is a fear of death. Everybody, everyone who has been born is inevitably going to feel the end or the death. So all things in this world pertaining to man are attended with fear. But he says the renunciation of these pleasures alone eliminates the fear, and then once the fear is eliminated, then we will have the joy that we are looking for, the happiness that we are looking for, the bliss that we are looking for. Now the renunciation that we have talked about, we will be talking in future what they really mean. Renunciation does not mean running away from our responsibilities or running away from the legitimate pleasure that God has provided, whether it is in food or people or the nature, because God is beautiful, God has made things beautiful. It is only because we just do not know how to make good use of beauty, or learn how to understand the purpose of beauty. But beauty certainly is all around. So, as we have said, that there is a fear in everything that is pertaining to man, unless, as we have said, he understands the laws that the Lord has made, the Creator has made, inevitably we have to follow. And this again, when I was examining why this void in our life, then one of the things that comes to my mind is that our minds are scattered. And when the mind is scattered, then of course we are losing our energy. We cannot focus. We cannot use all our energy for a particular task. If our energy is split into 10 different directions, then none of the direction is getting our full attention, full energy, full resources, and therefore no task is attained or achieved to our satisfaction. So when we come down to the basics about the voids, the dissatisfaction, and the problems in life that we are trying to mention, and of course we are going to find the solution of all that we are talking about, we want to remember that it is the mind that is the cause, and what place mind has. We will be also speaking about the powers of mind, its position in our life, where it stands, and how to make good use of the mind by controlling it or making it cooperate with our ultimate desire or the goal. So the problems of mind, problems of intellect, problems of body, all these things has to be harmonized, coordinated, and brought to our usefulness, because everything that God has given us is for proper use, so that ultimately we will be feeling fearless, and we will also what we call freedom, because it is the freedom for which we have been born. We want to live in freedom, and we want to end our life in freedom. God Himself is free. He has created us free. He wants us to remain free, but the laws that He has made are such that it is not automatic. We'll have to make efforts and a sincere effort with our heart to follow and implement the laws as we understand and as we are going to expound in future. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat.